Welcome, sir, and thank you, Deepthi. May I now call upon Mr. Jinan to commence his presentation titled How Education Kills Creativity, Diversity, and Culture.
I find it very difficult to communicate what I have to say normally because already the cup is full. So, normally when I do these workshops, I request people to leave their chappals and thoughts outside, like we go to temples. It's very important. Otherwise, nothing can go in. And what I did was that when I began to really understand these issues, I used to read all kinds of books, philosophy, psychology, everything. And then one day I decided to stop reading completely. 7 years I stopped reading completely. And even today I don't read newspapers. Very rarely, once in a while. Especially when you go in train, you need to, wipe the seats. Then I buy one. Otherwise, I don't read newspaper at all. So, what I'm trying to say is this, that it's very difficult to, because what I'm going to say is completely against the belief system that has been created about schools, about knowledge, about, So, my request is that you need to be a bit more, you need to shift the mental framework. So, I will get into the proper mode after some time. But what I would like to do is to revisit the basics. Why do we need knowledge? What is the role of beauty in our lives? As, she mentioned earlier that the whole of architecture is looking alike today. And I think there is something wrong with that. And though it's not just with architecture, all knowledge system, whether it is physics, whether it is, everything is the same. And the other day I was actually looking at, what is that? Schools of psychology. And I found that about 10 schools of psychology exist. Is that science or is that opinion? Am I right? The actual fact is only one. But there are 10 schools of psychology. Is that science? It can't be. So there is something fundamentally wrong with the way we have approached knowledge. What is outside is only one. If you are seeing it as 10, then it is something wrong with the way we see it. So I think we need to really revisit some of those, and then another very important issue is that I'm not really going to help you to find another job, really. But that's not my interest at all. You can continue to tell me, nee, we need job, we need all that. No, I'm not interested in that at all. I am talking about knowledge. I'm not talking about helping you to get, become, have more cars, more houses. No. So we need to again shift the paradigm to understand I'm talking about knowledge. So this is an interesting statement from Einstein. I thought, let me share this with you. An intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and a rational mind is a faithful servant. And what has happened in modernity is we have just reversed it. And all children are born with this. And this is, today morning I wrote this. The best way to regiment people is to make them believe that they are free. And this is exactly what is happening in USA. They are the most unfree culture in this country, completely regimented, with no basic skills to live. Of course they can read and write. Beyond that, no other skills. No senses. Have you any time, interacted with have you seen they trying to learn cooking, any of the Western people? They need to know exactly how many grams of salt you need to put, how many grams of this you need to put. Or that sense, feeling related knowledge is completely gone. It has to be very mechanical, very precise. And that is what we are also going towards. And the moment we have all educated people, we will have absolutely no basic skills left in this country. Actually, what we need to relook at is several other issues. That how we treat the people who have knowledge, because see, we are dealing with power. We are not dealing with knowledge. I keep asking sometimes, like I meet some of my friends today who did very well in schools. And I used to be quite bad. Copy करके बहुत पास किया है मैंने. तो मैं उनको पूछता कि who was intelligent? Tell me, who used intelligence to pass? वो तो मग करके वो पास किया ना. इंटेलिजेंस कहाँ है उसमें? याद किया बस. वो तो थोड़ा मैं भी फिर मैंने किया एक बार मेहनत करके मैंने याद करके 84% किया. उस दिन मैंने I decided not to copy. So 84% I got final year. Now, now you don't have to read. I will, tell some interesting incidences and then we will go into the presentation. Once one friend came across a 12-year-old girl who, in a village near Kalahasti, who was making very beautiful bamboo basket. So that time he was so fascinated, so he went near, asked her, "Can you teach us how you made?" So she told, "I don't know how to teach." So then he reframed the question and asked her, "Then you teach us how you learned." So she again thought for a while, and then she told, "I did not learn." You understand? That's one incident. Another incident is this: in Bangalore slums, children by the age of 4 or 5 or 6 can speak about 4 to 5 languages. Now look at that cognitive space. Nobody is teaching there, am I right? Nobody is learning consciously. Nothing has been simplified for them. A, B, C, D नहीं सिखाया उनको. छोटा नहीं, मतलब आजकल जो करता है ना, बच्चों को सिखाने के लिए छोटा किताब ये बनाता है, नहीं कर किया है. The complexity as it is being faced by children, and they make sense of it on their own terms. And they speak 4 to 5 languages by the time they reach 6 years. They have not used memory. I think we need to really sit back and understand what really is learning. Are words knowledge? Or true knowledge is wordless? In schools, we are never dealing with content. We are only dealing with form. No? In schools, we are only dealing with form, never the content. And what we intend to teach children is something else, what children learn is something else. Actually, the children learn the teacher and the hidden curriculum of the school, which is a children learn to obey, and they believe in knowledge. So authoritarianism, slave mind is part and parcel of going to school. A complete disorientation to what is knowledge. Because when a child is born, the child is learning. And then you tell the child, no, udhar jaake learning karo. So the child, what is this happening? And then what you do after 12th, you have forgotten 95% of this, whatever you learned. Am I right? How much do you remember? Which means that at least, so much of damaged cells here, memory. And then another interesting event is this, that I came across in rural areas, that there is no word called waste. So they do not waste. That concept doesn't exist, to waste. They don't waste at all. But in the modern space, just by keeping a waste paper basket, you have taught the child to waste. I'm just pointing out certain, issues of learning. What is learning? How does learning take place? And today we have made such a mess of everything because we are so thoroughly confused. And I can tell you one thing, that if you make the teachers trying to understand this whole issue of education, we have already failed. Because the teacher will never take interest in a position that teacher is not required at all. Yeah. That paradigm of no teacher, one will never explore. Because in true learning, teacher is not required. Learning happens. I need to clarify that I am not against knowledge at all. But what we think is knowledge is not knowledge. I think we are just a slightly better versions of computers. Different softwares are loaded. वो फिजिक्स पीएचडी किया तो फिजिक्स लोड किया और उससे अलावा कुछ सोच ही नहीं सकता. Politics you don't understand. Beyond that you understand absolutely nothing. Completely cocooned in one, that. So now, I'll get back to my, personal experience of how I explored these things. So I actually got interested in children when I was doing my engineering. First 3 years were spent in drinking, smoking, ganja, दारू ये सब में चला गया 3 साल और मेरे को कॉलेज से निकाल दिया. And I can tell you that was the best thing that happened to me. Because I was able to face myself then. What we really miss today is time with ourselves. And we are actually masters in self-deception. All of you know that. We don't want to face ourselves. So I was actually forced to face myself, that what really is happening. And I reflected, I thought that people with a healthy mind won't waste time on drinking, smoking and all that. No? नहीं करते. I realized that it's only because I am so unhappy with what I'm doing that I'm doing that. And I can tell you that most people in modern lives are spending their life like this. They don't like what they are doing. And then evening they have a slot called entertainment. I mean, that's even worse. With the TV, I mean, that's, this is what is happening. So I realized that I need to really explore, because I hated engineering. And I landed up there. So I then really began to look at what is happening to children, because I realized that it is there that everything happens. So I took a drop. I started teaching in the school in Bhopal, and spent some time really looking at what really is happening. And after that I went back to engineering. As I told you earlier, I decided not to copy, and 84% marks I got, but I decided not to work. One thing I decided, I will not do anything that I don't like to do. So 9 to 5 job was out, factories were out, तो मैं काम नहीं किया. 1-2 साल ऐसे ही pretend to work, look for job. And then next year I got into NID. And NID, I thought first few months I really felt very happy. But by the 3rd month I realized this is more dangerous. Because I can tell you that the more elitist, the more dangerous. And I keep telling, tribal schools in Orissa are much better because teachers don't even go there. And at NID, because the kind of mahal that is created, that you don't realize how deeply you are getting damaged. See, there are 3 levels of damage. One is information. See, now they have decided that Pluto is no longer a planet. तो हमने agree किया नहीं, ठीक है, और हटा दिया हमारा उसमें से. है कि नहीं, हटा दिया तो उसमें अभी कोई मार्क नहीं मिलेगा, तो हटा दिया उसको, ठीक है. अभी next level is emotion. That emotional level, there's a deep damage. That is why it's very clear that it's only the educated who feels inferior to the West. Do you think this villager out there feels inferior to the West? No, it's only the educated. So at a deep emotional level, you're damaged. And the third level is sense. Because as an integrated being, the whole being learns. Now this fragmentation is precisely what happens in the classroom. Because what your eyes are learning is the teacher, your ear is hearing what she is telling. You understand? There's a total fragmentation of what really is learning is, So then what happens is that, then sense level what happens is that, aesthetic sense, that is what deeply has been damaged through schooling. Because same Bauhaus, and I found that NIDians, all of them create exactly the same thing, same quality. Of course, there is brilliance in what they do. I'm not challenging that. It's a fantastic place actually, compared to any other schools, because there's a hell of a lot of freedom. No teaching. But the basic framework is Western. This is where, that history of design is only West. Bauhaus, taken as it is, the color theory, composition, everything.